I'm Chris with Williams Contracting, and today we're talking about construction plans. We're going to go over our typical construction documents, the information that's included, the details that are there. This is the primary form of communication between the owner, the builder, and all of the tradesmen that are on site building your home. Super important and lots of fun. Let's dive into it. So sheet 1 is our cover sheet. As you can see here, we have a beautiful visual of the home itself and the pertinent information for the people involved in the project team, project information. We've got the size of the home and the layout of all the sheets involved. This is just a nice cover sheet, gives you reference to the plan itself, and it's always fun to put a beautiful rendering of the home on the front so you get excited for what's to come. Sheet 2 is our floor plan. The floor plan is not a technical drawing for construction. This plan is just a reference for the layout of the rooms, the location of the fixtures, and we always like to include some elements of furniture. You see a dining table here, you've got couches and chairs, a bed in the master bedroom. It really gives you a reference and an easy way to see the layout of the home and the overall design. Let's go to sheet 3. Sheet 3 is where we get into a lot more detail. This is our elevation. Sheets 3 and 4 contain the elevations of all 4 sides of the home. This is where we start to put in a lot of nice detail and callouts. These are important. They communicate to the construction team as it involves the framing team, the siding team, the electrical team, and the mechanical team. What's happening, what's going on in the home, as well as the design elements for the window package. Let's look at this example. Up here, we've got exterior lighting blocks, standard 7x10 vertical. So behind every exterior light, we're going to have those lighting blocks called out as a 7x10. We have a heat pump. We're calling out what these blocks are for the heat pump. We've got blocks for our outlets. Everything going on in this home, we like to call out what's going on in the exterior as a typical detail. If we have a special size or a special call out, that will be highlighted. Down on this area here for the basement, we've got this C corbel detail 1-3 for this roof area. That corbel detail is right here. It shows us the size of the corbel, the pitch of this little roof, and the details that go on with the beam and the fascia and everything else that relates to this particular roof over this basement door. The exterior details, exterior elevation drawings are really beautiful to look at. They contain a lot of good detail about the elements of the home as it relates to the fit and finish and the size and shape of the exterior of your home. This is an opportunity to make sure you have the spec for the product and the scale of the house looks good as it relates to all of your trim details, siding details, windows, and doors. Let's go on. Sheet number 4 is more details on the exterior elevations. I just want to highlight this on sheet 4. We have our wall heights called out for each of the floors. Basement, wall height 9 foot 1 1/8. Main floor, wall height 9 foot 1 1/8. Third floor, 8 foot 1 1/8 wall height. Each of these, 82 BOH, is 82 inches to the bottom of the header. So that dictates our window heights on the exterior of the home. Same thing goes for the main floor. That's 90 inches bottom of header. And in the basement, we had 90 as well. That concludes the main overview of our elevation sheets. Now let's move on to sheet 5 and get into 3D exterior views. So this is an opportunity we take to show what the house will look like in color. We've put over on this side of our sheet the main colors that are selected by the homeowner for the exterior and a visual reference of what those colors look like. Now keep in mind these colors are rendering, so you're going to want to get actual samples of the paint, put them on pieces of material on the house, on the exterior to see what they look like in reality. But this gives a good indication of the different finishes. You can see the dark main body, the light trim, the wood tone shingles. We then have another wood detail up here in our gables, and then you've got your stone in the exterior. So not all of these demonstrate exactly what the finishes are, but it's an indication of the tone and style of the house. Let's move to the next sheet. Sheet 6 is where we start to get really technical. This can contain the foundation plan, and in this case we have a basement, so we have a wall framing plan for the basement in addition to our foundation plan. On this sheet, we have all of our dimensions called out for the foundation itself, and it's really clean. There are technical drawings from the structural engineer, which are going to call out all of our supports interior and all of our floor joists and beams that go into the floor system of the home. Those are not contained on this sheet, but those are part of the engineering sheets and part of the complete package that the construction team is going to need. This gives you all the sizing and dimension in a really clear layout and format. Because we have a basement, we also show our wall framing plan for the basement. This wall framing plan is going to be typical for the basement, the first floor, and the second floor. So I'm going to go to sheet number 7, show you the main floor framing plan, and show you all the information that's on that plan. Here we are on sheet 7. This sheet contains our main floor framing plan and our upper floor framing plan. This has a lot of detail, a lot of really good information that the main components of the home are going to be built from. So let's dive in. I'm going to start here with our front. We've got the front door size called out. We've got the front window sizes called out. This is typical around the home for all the exterior openings. You can see our dimensions are called out on center. One of the great things about calling out on center is if you change, say the size of the door goes from a 3-foot door, maybe you want to oversize to a 3.6, that center line typically is going to stay in the same location. So your center line can stay there. You could then mark it up and add the new rough opening size if your door spec was to change when you got into framing. We work around the home. You're going to see all these other callouts, all these dimensions that are important for the placement of all the openings, all the walls, both interior and exterior. And we'll highlight the stairs here. The handrail, we're showing that there's an open railing. So you've got the dark wall ends here. Open railing comes down. So the framer knows he's going to leave that space without a full wall. The full wall will end at this location and come all the way down. This communication for the stairs indicates the full wall ends with the edge of the landing. Let's go to sheet number 8. Sheet number 8 is additional information that's needed for constructing the home. This is just the main overview of the roof plan. We've got a couple of standard details here. A lot of our other construction details, the structural details, are all contained within the construction documents from the structural engineer. So this information is really to be very clear about what things look like and communication between the owner and the builder, what things are going to look like. The technical drawings are done by the engineering team and are contained on those sheets. We're not going to get into those today, but those do exist in addition to these architectural drawings. Let's go to sheet 9 and start working on our mechanical and technical aspects of the home. What we like to do in our construction documents is have a layer of drawings for HVAC and plumbing and have another layer for electrical. Now there is some overlap on that. In our HVAC plumbing plan, we are going to show light locations so the HVAC team and the plumbing team know where we're planning to do the lighting and where those locations exist. But in the priority of construction, plumbing happens, HVAC happens, then electrical happens. Plumbing is the hardest thing to manipulate around other items. HVAC is the second hardest. Electrical is the easiest because you can run wires just about anywhere inside your walls, floors, and ceilings. But the light locations are critical because those are the things you see when the house is all said and done. Let me show you what we've got going on here. In our plumbing HVAC plan, we call out center lines for each of our sink or plumbing fixtures so the plumbers know where those cabinet plans are going to line up, where the center lines are going to be. All of this information exists because when they're coming in and starting their work, all that is in place is the framing itself. This will help them understand where we're trying to center up our sinks, center up our showers, center up our toilets. Plans for the cabinets and other finishes could be modified down the road, but at this point in the process, we're going to maintain that center line call out as those designs are refined. Another great thing that you'll see on this particular plan is we call out blocking for towel rods, for grab bars, for anything that's going to be mounted to the surface of the finished wall after framing is complete, after drywall is complete. So this is a great reference here. We've got blocking centered at 48. This is going to be for a towel rod. Blocking centered at 24. That's for a toilet paper holder. The construction team is going to go in, put in 2x12 blocks, really big pieces of wood, inside the wall, centered at those dimensions that are called out. And down the road, when we go into finish, we can mount all of our hardware directly to wood, not have to use drywall anchors, and have a ton of high quality connections for years to come. One of the key factors on this HVAC plumbing plan is the call out of exterior hose bibs. This is really important communication between us as the design build team and the homeowner, because this is one thing the owner will interact with for years to come. And if they're really thoughtfully placed, it's going to be great. If they're not in a great spot, it's going to be really frustrating. So we make sure to identify through these labels, hose bibs, showing one here, showing one here. On the basement floor, we show one outside the wall here. As a homeowner, this is something you really want to consider, because you know it will impact every day and every week of your life as you're using your property, washing your car, watering your garden, doing those other things. Hose bib location seems minor, but it's super important to get in the right spot. Let's go to sheet number 10. Sheet number 10 is the electrical sheet. This contains a lot of really important information. Electrical is one of those things that's very detailed. It's very important to get right. It's important to understand light location, the switching setup that you have going on, and the other details as it relates to electrical. However, the number one thing that people change once they move into a home are some modifications to their electrical, but it obviously is limited because the walls are closed up. We try to be very thoughtful with this design sheet, make sure you understand what's going on, and we really think through your daily interaction within your home as it relates to all the electrical components. Let's look at some of these details. First off, we've got our standard lighting plan. So you can see each of these symbols is a recessed can light, and we're showing a switching setup. So sometimes, like in this kitchen, you've got a lot going on, so it's important to pay attention to what light is switched to where. We have a switch bank here. This switch is coming to this red line, which is an under cabinet light. This under cabinet light is connected to these under cabinet lights is here. All of these, as you can see, the line ends here, so it means there's a single switch here. As we're following the switch legs, it's really important to see where lights are switched. In this instance, we have a switch with a number 4. This 4-way means there's 3 total switches on these lights, and you really want to look at where those switches are. When we're switching a electrical plan, we're thinking about primary point of entrance into the room, primary point of exit. If you're going to bed at night, do you have to walk across the room to turn off a light, to turn off the main lights, and then go through that room to then go to your bedroom? So we're looking at ingress, egress of the rooms. Let me show you an example of this 4-way switch. This 4-way switch comes down and is connected to all of these can lights within the kitchen area. But we have a switch that's here, then it switches in this location, and it switches at this location. So if you're in the living room, you can turn it on. If you come in through the front door and come in through the office, you can turn on these main lights. Or if you're leaving or coming in from the bedroom side and the garage side, you could do the same. Now, in this instance, that's the only 4-way switch leg. We do have some 3-ways. Right here, this switch light controls these main dining room lights, but it's also controlled over here by the exterior doors. Paying attention to your electrical plan, both in light location and special outlet location, is really important. This is one of the most interactive times in a build. We bring the owners on site, we walk through the house with the electrician. Electricians start doing their box layout. Homeowner comes on site again later that day or the next day, really making sure we're dialing those exact locations for switches and outlets so it makes your life easier to live within the home. Let's move on to the finishes. This is sheet 11, where we get into the look and feel and finish of your home. The first thing we like to do is give you a finish overview. This doesn't contain a lot of technical drawings, but it just gives you a sense of what's going where when it comes to the floors and the overall finish of the home. Here we have a top-down view. We're calling out a particular type of flooring. We're pointing to the areas it's going. So all of this dark area is this floor. All of this dark area on the 3rd floor is that same floor. Up here, we've got this type of carpet. It's going into this room itself. We then have a different carpet, which we're highlighting in this room. So indicating the differences gives the entire team, the homeowner, the builder, the designer, and the guys doing the install the indication of what goes where in a very clear and visual communication tool. Now let's get into the details of the cabinets and other finishes as we go through this house. First thing we like to do is highlight the main areas. So main area being kitchen. Once again, this is for visual reference and general dimensions. We're going to have additional drawings like from the cabinet shop that show every spec and detail of the cabinets. But this is where you first look at it and go, I like the way the kitchen looks. I like where things are placed. I understand the scale, the volume, and the layout. Let's keep moving forward. So let me show what we got going on. First off, beautiful 3D renderings. This just shows the location of the island. You can very easily see what's going on within the kitchen. You've got your wall oven, you've got a microwave, your fridge, your range, your hood, all of these elements. This is where we see some of our beam work that's going in the space. Gives you a really good idea of what the house looks like, is going to feel like, and we get some dimensions going in. On our kitchen design sheet, we start with the floor plan. Here we're going to have an overall dimension for the run of cabinetry. Each of these cabinets is spec as a particular size. So this is a 20-inch, 19, 9, 9, 31, 32. These are not construction for cabinet drawings, but these are overall general design drawings. There will be another set of more detailed drawings from the cabinet builder specifically for this plan. But this is where he starts, and this is where you as the owner to say, I like the way that looks. Let's make sure our kitchen looks like that when it's all done. Inside of here, we have an elevation. It shows a critical dimension of 42 inches between these two cabinets to make sure the space is there for the hood, and everything else is laid out really nicely. Once again, the dimensions for overall cabinet size are on this sheet inside of the cabinet labels, and this sheet gives you a good clean reference. It also shows the location of the backsplash being all the way up and around the hood, so you know where everything goes. The end of the backsplash ends with the cabinetry here, and ends with the countertop at the end. Every single wall of our kitchen we put in elevation. So you see the range wall, you see the refrigerator, wall oven wall. We have the island here, and then you get into other spaces of the home like the pantry, same thing. We show an elevation of that space. We have a floor plan of that space as an overall dimension for the length, and it shows the opening and the space in between our floating shelves. These drawings are really good reference. There's more detail as we work through all the final decisions. We'll get into colors, specs, we'll get into what's inside the drawers. Those will be part of the cabinet drawing package. Let's move to the next sheet and the next area of the home, the master bathroom. Once again, another high impact area. So it's really important, first off, to know what it looks like. So produce some 3D shots. Beautiful 3D shot gives you the size, feel, and space of the bathroom. We have two different 3D shots of this bathroom space. We wanted to incorporate some of the vanity in this one and give you a look inside the shower on this shot. This really communicates to everybody and very clearly shows where all the tile is going within the bathroom, where the tile is here. It's a good visual indicator for this border that we're doing, showing we've got full tile there, full tile here, and then speckled tile outside and inside the shower. There's a lot more conversations that happen when it comes to tile showers on site with the tile installer to get everything dialed in perfectly. But this gives the design intent of the space, gives the dimensions we need for those openings and niches, and shows the location for all of our plumbing fixtures. So the plumber can refer to this when he's doing roughing. You know where the handles are going to be, and it's done properly from the beginning. Let's get into the final finish sheets for this plan. What we're going to show on this sheet is more of the bathrooms. We show the casework that's going in. This particular home was designed with pre-built vanities for these bathrooms. So we call that out as owned and provided, confirmed dimensions. But we have a hallway casework that's going in down here. We show a wine fridge, some cabinetry, some glass shelf call out. Once again, a good visual reference of what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. The details will get worked out with the cabinet builder, and they will draw exact dimensions for what these cabinets will be when they go to build them. And as a homeowner, this gives you a good indication of what things are going to line up with the mirrors, the lights, and the battens. Sometimes we can get hyper obsessed with everything being perfectly in line and symmetrical, and that's just not always possible. So visual references like this elevation here just communicates very clearly to you and me as the builder communicating to you, we're not going to be able to line up all of our battens and everything with the mirror and the light and the vanity and the battens in a straight line, but the battens lay out symmetrically on the wall and the vanity is offset. I think this looks good, and it's not a big issue that they're offset in any way, but it does help to know it going in. Let's go to our final sheet and the fireplace details. On this sheet, we've got a few different areas that we're highlighting in the home that have special attention being paid to them. One of them is the fireplace. So here we show a visual reference of the living room. A nice 3D shot shows our detail of the fireplace mantle surround. We've got the hearth in there and the cabinetry on either side. Once again, these cabinet drawings will be refined and detailed by the cabinet builder, but this gives you as the owner, me as the builder, the reference to say this is what it's going to look like when it's all done. We get into more detail with an actual tile spec. We'll get into final finish of the wood and the drawings of that space. But because this is a custom piece, it's going to be built in place. We're going to make sure as the builder, it looks like this when it's all said and done. Same thing goes for the area here. We have a front office and this nice entry, giving you a good visual of what this cabinetry will look like in the space, giving some overall dimensions for the width and height of these base cabinets. But once again, this is going to get figured out in more detail with the cabinet builder and with the millwork team. This gives everybody the same indication of what we're going for in the design and the feel as it's drawn in the actual space. This allows us to tell you as the owner, this is what it's going to look like. Then get with our specialists and say, this is what we want it to look like. How do we make this happen? We draw it, we detail it, we build it, we install it. It looks like the picture. It actually looks better than the picture, and everybody is super happy. So that's a main overview of our construction drawings that we do for our clients when designing and building their home. The construction plans are the primary form of communication between the builder, the designer, the homeowner, and the construction team and all the tradesmen that are on site. It is really important to be as detailed as you can be within these sheets, but also understand when you're working with really good tradesmen, they're going to bring ideas and details to the table. If you show them a concept or we get a drawing done that shows them the look and feel you're going for, it's great to work with the designer and with the craftsman to develop that plan and really dial it in and make it beautiful. Like and subscribe. Click the link below to get our toolkit, which includes these set of plans as a reference to what your home plans could include and should include to make your home more beautiful and the build go great. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you on the next one.